Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host today. We have Paul Joseph Watson joining us from the UK. We've been talking about his article on Infowars.com. JP Morgan Chase bans storage of cash in its safety deposit boxes. We're going to move on to another story that he's got now. U.S. Army forces cadets to wear high heels to promote a feminist campaign. And if you want to talk to Paul, ask him a question, comment on these stories, we're going to take some of your calls. 800-259-9231. That's 800-259-9231. I want to play this clip that's embedded into the story right now. This is the ROTC. They're telling them that they have to wear high heels, I guess, so that they would identify with feminists. Paul will break that down for us, but here's the clip.
This is completely unbelievable. The US Army forced cadets at Temple University to participate in a feminist campaign based around the completely debunked and fraudulent college rape culture myth by wearing spray-painted red high heels. And they were basically told that if they didn't participate, their careers would be over. This has emerged out of a Reddit post from a cadet who participated in the event. Here's his text message, which went viral on Reddit yesterday. Tomorrow morning, our entire battalion is doing this walk a mile in her shoes event where we all walk a mile with bright red high heels in place of our boots to promote awareness for sexual abuse on campus. Attendance is mandatory. And if we miss it, we get a negative counselling. So he basically says that he was forced to go out and buy a pair of female shoes, high heels, spray paint them red. He ends the text by stating, "This is hands down the stupidest thing I've done." And basically this was then confirmed by other cadets who were forced to participate. Quote, "They were threatened with negative counselling statements and OERs if they didn't participate. It was pretty much, do this or we'll kill your career before it even starts." I mean, seriously, who in the hell is running the US Army? Imagine what ISIS is thinking when they see this. Imagine what the Russian military is thinking when they see this. They must be rolling around on the floor, laughing their frigging heads off. I mean, it would still be absolutely ridiculous if this was voluntary. But it was mandatory. Again, another example of how third-wave feminism and this fraudulent debunked rape culture myth has poisoned absolutely everything. So while the US Army is pushing this ridiculous promotion of this fringe third-wave feminist ideology and mandating that cadets take part in it or basically have their careers finished on the spot, they're simultaneously telling members of the Army not to donate to Tea Party or Christian groups, while Christians are being systematically purged from the US military. And again, why is this whole college rape culture myth still being peddled by third-wave feminists when the Justice Department's own figures released last year said that the 1 in 5 female victims of rape on campus figure, which has been peddled by feminists for 5 years, was complete baloney? The actual number is 0.03 in 5, which is actually less than women in the general population. This is a complete hoax. Yet the myth continues to be circulated by feminists, despite the complete collapse of the UVA rape story. I don't even know what to say about this anymore. I'm literally just shaking my head. The US Army forcing cadets to wear red spray-painted high heels to support some dumb feminist campaign, which is based around complete hoax and fraudulent statistics about a rape culture on campus that doesn't exist. Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com.
Amazing report, Paul. Yeah, that is absolutely one of the most asinine things I've ever seen in my life, especially if you look at that picture there, that close-up of the feet. I looked at that. It's like, that looks like the Grinch who stole Christmas or some kind of weird thing like that. Or Leanne said it looks like a house is about ready to fall. See, like the Wicked Witch of the West. But I have a question, Paul. I mean, could it be that maybe this isn't a feminist thing with the high heels? I mean, you know, a lot of feminists will push back against that high heel thing. To me, This looks like yet another instance of them pushing a transsexual cross-dressing agenda that seems to me like they are really pushing that agenda very, very hard in the media right now. I mean, that's what that looked like to me. That looked like a Bruce Jenner exercise.
Well, it's an event called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, and it's basically run by this organizer who claims that 1 in 4 American women are victims of rape. So completely baloney statistic. And of course, this is what feminists have seized upon. Even in the aftermath of the Rolling Stone collapse of the UVA rape scandal fraud. Again, as I mentioned in that video, the actual figure is 0.03 women are victims of sexual assault in universities, which is less than women in the general population. So they've contrived this whole phony college rape culture myth. And in a way, it's very onerous. You know, this was mandatory. In some places it was voluntary, some places it was mandatory. But you know, what's the message if you refuse to participate? Well, do you support rape? Do you oppose victims of sexual assault? And then I was contacted by a US Army service member about an hour after this video was posted, who said that not only are they doing this at universities for cadets, his unit, which served in Afghanistan, were forced, this was mandatory, to parade around in red spray-painted high heels at an event promoting and supporting the same campaign in 2011, and he provided a link to that. He was an Army medic. He said that basically the only way to get out of it was to fake an injury or to pull some form of guard duty. Wow. So again, they forced them to do it. It would be one thing if it was voluntary, but they're making them do it under threat of ending their careers, parading around US Army soldiers in red high heels while ISIS is beheading people in the Middle East. I mean, what do they think when they look at this? What does Vladimir Putin think when he looks at this?
He's thinking, I'm much safer than I thought. He's looking at that. Because the military has got an agenda that absolutely has nothing to do with its stated purpose, just as the schools have an agenda that has absolutely nothing to do with their stated purpose. You know, when I look at this, Paul, like I said, you know, I understand that there's this phony rape agenda statistics, you know, based on phony statistics about rape on college campus and that sort of thing that's also being used as the excuse for this. But I honestly, when I look at this, I think this is part of a massive, massive push to put transsexualism out there. At the very least, this is not a pro-feminist message. I don't know, maybe the feminists have changed, but I never saw feminists as being the kinds who would, kinds of people who would embrace red high heels. I mean, they were the kind who pretty much rebelled against that. To me, if anything else, it looks like an anti-masculine agenda. It's not a pro-feminist agenda. It's basically anti-man when they're doing this.
Well, yeah, I mean, not a lot of third wave feminism makes sense. So you're right. But yeah, a lot of the comments in response to this was that this was about emasculating men. Yeah. Which again ties into a related article I did yesterday, which is about this for-profit company called We End Violence. And they're involved in the colleges, in the universities, students across America now, as a result of this, you know, anti-sexual assault act passed by Obama a couple of years ago. They're being forced to take these courses where they have to choose politically correct answers before they're allowed to proceed in this online course. If they don't complete the course, they don't enroll for their classes in the next semester. So this is mandatory for everybody. They're already pushing to make, you know, gender study classes mandatory. Now they're literally putting in these re-education programs. And as you mentioned before, this is all about emasculating men. In fact, the company says that its goal is to, quote, challenge men and masculinity. Like there's something inherently wrong with that. And again, it's all about framing men as likely rapists, potential rapists. It's about policing language. It's about cultural Marxism. If you go through these examples in the article, it's about how you should think, how you should act, what you should say around women. It's about controlling people's behavior. And it's mandatory for many university students across the country. Again, completely ridiculous.
It was just yesterday we had a couple of articles about how kindergarten and primary people. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, this is Joe Biggs. Guess what? So my buddy is at a sexual harassment training course right now with the U.S. Army, and he took a picture of the slideshow, so we're going to put it up real quick. It says tip number 3, if you pull over to help someone whose car has broken down, remember not to rape them. This is real. You can't make this up. This is the actual slide at the sexual harassment training the U.S. Army is doing. So not only we have to walk around like a bunch of pansies in red high heels, but just in case we forgot that if we pull over to help someone, make sure don't rape them.
Okay, I've got that on my list. I've got that on my tip list. Unbelievable. Yeah, essentially portraying everybody as a rapist is what they're implying there, talking down to them. But, you know, it was just yesterday that we had a couple of articles about how kindergarten teachers were sexualizing their kids, teaching them about homosexuality, teaching them about transsexuality, cross-dressing, and all that sort of thing. This is a Brave New World agenda. It's not just 1984. We've got both of these things going on at the same time. And I don't think it's appropriate to talk, to have a stranger talking to my kids about any kind of sex in kindergarten. That's absolutely ridiculous. So it's not just the colleges, it's not just the military. That's where they have control over people, is within the schools, within the colleges, within the military. They can say, you're out of here if you don't do what we say because we're going to end your career. We're not going to pass you in this test. That's the kind of leverage that they have over people. And of course, now that we have a volunteer professional army, that's a lot of leverage to have over people that they didn't have before when they were just pulling people up as they needed them for a war. Of course, they couldn't sell the draft after people realized they had this agenda of attacking pretty much every country on the planet. You know, people started figuring that out with Vietnam, so it kind of sunk their draft movement. And I'm not suggesting that we bring that back, but still, they have that leverage now with people who see this as a career, people who have to get through school, and who with parents who don't understand what they're doing to their kindergarten children. And this is a big part of the agenda. I think this goes even way beyond feminism. I think it goes into this transsexual agenda that they're selling everywhere. I mean, we've got TV series on Amazon, Transparent, stuff like that. I mean, they're pushing it everywhere I turn. I've never seen this before, but now everywhere I turn, I'm seeing this cross-dressing, and that's what I'm seeing in this high heel thing.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, they're having counselling sessions with NHS doctors and children as young as 3 on transgenderism, like coaching them how they might want to become a woman, how they might want to change gender. And again, it's like Alex talks about them. If you put in drug education or sex education into schools at earlier and earlier ages, which is what's happening, it just makes kids more wanton to have sex and to do drugs. I mean, there are studies that prove that. So as you mentioned, we're being saturated with this now. It's no longer about tolerance. It's about this imposition of political correctness and the characterization of anyone who raises a whimper of dissent as a hate criminal. And now it's even expanded into, ludicrous contexts like the fat pride movement, which I've talked about before, where if you criticize someone for being obese, that could now be considered a hate crime and you could be reported to the police. Yeah. So again, in the name of tolerance, they're enforcing this authoritarian political correctness. And if you disagree with it, then, you might be a hate criminal.
Exactly. We got some callers who called in on the line. I think this red heel thing is really a red herring. It's a technique, just like they used in Brave New World, to control the population, to misdirect you into other areas, whether it's hedonism or whether it's competing and dividing one group against another. That's the way they control people. That's the way they control countries. That's the way they operate. Let's go to David in Missouri. David, you want to talk about the high heel issue. Go ahead. Hello. Go ahead, David. Are you there? David is not there. Let's go to Matthew in Texas. Matthew, go ahead.
Hi, David. I just want to let you guys know that y'all are doing a fabulous job. Huge fan, and but what I want to really emphasize on is that I believe a lot of this feminism or wearing the high heels, it has a lot to do with a way of just controlling people's mindset and where it should be, instead of letting it naturally be there. But what I also wanted to say, man, is that I live in South Texas. I live very, very close to the border. And, I don't know if you're familiar with the Valley, but I'm a resident of Harlingen, Texas, and I'm trying to set up this civilian border protection agency because I feel like the federal agents are not doing what they can to.
Absolutely not. They don't see us as having a border anymore. And as they've explained to us multiple times, we don't have America anymore. We have North America. We're 20 years into the North American Union, as they point out. And it's going to get it's another major part of the next trade agreements, and that is open borders. That's what they're working for. Thanks. Let's go to Justin in Kansas. Justin, you said you're a Marine vet. You wanted to comment on this?
Yeah, my name is Justin. Obviously, you know my name. I'm a Marine veteran. I did 8 years in the Marine Corps. I literally watched the Marine Corps go from the men that were in my unit being, men's men to being the limp-wristed. I'm not sure what word I should use, but you probably get the gist of what I'm saying.
Metrosexuals, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have met women in my life. I'm 31 years old. I've met women in my life that I would take combat over some of the guys I served with. And it's just one of them. And I watched a lot of good Marines, great Marines, that went down, went to a party or whatever, and the week after that, they're getting charged with sexual assault or rape because the girl just decided to call rape because she made a mistake because she was drunk. That, and honestly, I think that part of what plays into the statistic, if you really want to call it that. I did some college courses, and one of the courses was statistics, and all statistics is, and my professor even told me, statistics are going to tell you whatever you want them to tell you.
Sure, yeah. So, it's like these studies that they do. Depends on who finances them as well.
Exactly. And I even almost went down because of it. I went to a party, and we were drinking and having a good old time. And, I mean, it was a hey, we made it home kind of deal. And this girl cried rape on me. I never even seen her.
Yeah, we're coming up to a break. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, of course, we live in a country where the government can accuse you pretty much of anything, and you're not innocent until proven guilty. That applies to that as well. We need to get back to a country. Maybe we could start with civil asset forfeiture reform and then get back to these types of cases as well. We got to start somewhere. We got to have that presumption of innocence. We'll be right back with Paul Joseph Watson. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host. We're talking to Paul Joseph Watson, and we have some callers who are calling in with reactions to the article he has, U.S. Army forces cadets to wear high heels to promote feminist campaign. Before we get back to that, we just had this article go up on Infowars.com. Bill Nye brags about boarding gas-guzzling Air Force One to combat climate change on Earth Day. And as Kit Daniels points out, Air Force One's fuel efficiency is 0.2 miles per gallon. In other words, it uses 5 gallons per mile. They're going to use 35,000 gallons of fuel on Earth Day to lecture people about climate change. Isn't it great to be part of the privileged kleptocrat class that we've got here? Now, before we get back to Paul, I just want to let you know briefly, we've got specials going on Infowars.com. We've got 50% off of Silver Bullet at InfoWarsLife.com, $15 per bottle savings. Of course, that's the 30 parts per million colloidal silver that we have. Also, you can get 10% off all ProPure water filters with a promo code WATER. And it's time to prepare. Get reliable, high-quality emergency food. My Patriot Supply emergency food available at InfoWarsStore.com. Paul, I want to take another call and get your comment on it. Let's go to Mark in Texas. You want to talk about the troops and the high heels and feminism. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, okay. Before I start on that, I just want to let people know, I don't know if they know that Wolfgang Halbig is going to have a hearing on Thursday, on the 24th of this month of April, in Hartford, Connecticut, and I think this time he's going to get some answers to what really happened at Sandy Hook. But anyway.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, we need to talk to him. Go ahead.
Okay, as far as he said he's been trying to call you, but he can't get through. Also, as far as the military goes, I don't know what these neocons are even thinking when they say, well, we need to go over here and we need to go over there, and do they honestly think that this military of today could defeat Russia in a non-nuclear war? Do they really think, how disciplined and good the Russian army is today and how tough those people are? Look at World War II, when they underwent that war with Germany, and with today's purged military. I don't even know if we could defeat Iran in a war either. I don't think we could actually conquer it and invade it the way we could Iraq. It'd be
well,
very
that's true.
tough.
Joel Skousen has pointed out he doesn't even think it's their intention to try to win a war. What do you think, Paul?
Well, I think the U.S. economy still dwarfs that of Russia. So I don't. But if they spend all the time walking around in high heels, then it makes it less likely that they'd win a war. And again, I wanted to talk about what the previous caller said. When does it come a national security issue if you're emasculating people in the military? And then you can add in the whole debate about, women on the front line, which also ties into this feminist hysteria about not recognizing the fact that men and women have biological differences which make them more adept at different tasks. Doesn't mean one's better than the other. Doesn't mean that one thing is inferior to another. But, this ties into everything. So, with regard to Russia, if they're prancing around in red high heels instead of actually training, then that's going to be a disadvantage, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to see, I'd like to see one of the neocons, Lindsey Graham, walking around in red high heels. Maybe somebody's got the footage. I think he does. Let's go to Alex in Wisconsin. Alex.
What's up, Knight? I have two sniblets here. First, do you agree that a main focal target of mass mind control remains the control and manipulation of collective archetypes on sexuality?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this. I'm just sick of dishonorable trash.
Supreme Cobra Commander!
You're failures! You think I'd sell my family out like you, dirtbag? The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. ancientdefense.com.